Yo, what is up, guys? It's Coach Nate with another episode of Steel Strength Radio, and today we're going to be talking about building versus testing your strength. So first, we're going to be talking about what is strength. Second, we're going to talk about how do we build strength, and third, we're going to talk about how do we test our strength and what's the difference here. So first, what is strength? I'm going to get technical here for a second. Strength is the ability of the nervous system to recruit the muscles to do a certain task, okay? And specifically to do that task and how much force is being put out when doing that task. So to break this down into simpler terms, it's the ability of the nervous system, which starts in the brain. You have a thought, I'm going to push this barbell, doing the bench press. We're going to push this barbell. The brain activates, sends a signal down the spine, out the spinal column, into your arms, all your chest, shoulders, all that. It activates those muscles. And so it's the ability, so your nervous system has to fire, and then it has to recruit the muscles that you already have to exert, to contract so that you put out force onto, against the bar, against the resistance to move it. And like the force output that we put out, that is how strong you are, okay? All right, so we got technical there for a second. But how do we build that strength, okay? So there's two ways that we can really build strength primarily. The first, and this is what happens when you first start, you make large gains because of this, and that is you become more efficient at the movement. So I tell people all the time, and so let me back it up. The second part, so first is becoming more efficient at the movement. The second is having larger muscles. So I tell people all the time, part of getting stronger is like learning to ride a bike. It's practicing the skill of the movement you want to get good at. You want to get good at squats? You should squat. You want to get good at deadlifts? Deadlift. You want to get good at bench press? You bench press. You see my point, okay? So part of it is creating the pattern in the brain or whatever. I don't know how all that works. The body's amazing, but like the body will create a pathway to get good and efficient at squatting the way you get good at riding a bike. Okay. Now the second thing though, the second way that we build strength, which is what causes like strength gains over the long haul, when you start talking about after those first few months of strength training, what is driving your strength? Well, at that point, you're pretty efficient at the movement. Sure, you'll continue to get a little bit more efficient over time, but most of your strength gains beyond that point are coming from increased muscle mass. So basically you can think about it like this. Increasing the size of the muscle is going to increase the horsepower in the engine, all right? And so a bigger muscle tends to be a stronger muscle, okay? So that's what is strength. Now, how do we build strength? So we build strength through progressive overload, and this is just a fancy way of saying doing more work over time. So when you first start, you do your first workout, and we start people with an A, B workout. We're alternating between the two workouts, but every time you come back to workout A, you do the same exercises, but you do a little bit more. You do a little bit more. You do a few more reps. You do a little bit more weight. And ultimately, we might even add some more sets in there. And notice that we're alternating between the A, B, and we're doing those movements repetitively so that you are both getting more efficient at the movement just by practicing them regularly, and you're building muscle and strength ultimately by doing more, by progressively overloading that movement, doing more weight, doing more reps, and ultimately doing more sets. And then in the long haul, basically over time, we manipulate how much weight, how many sets, how many reps you're doing, so that over time, not necessarily every single workout, but over time, you are able to lift more. All right. The next thing that you need to know is how do we test strength? So testing strength is very specific. So like building strength, we can hang out in that, anywhere from roughly 3 reps to 12 reps, 15 reps. Sometimes we go a little bit lower, sometimes a little bit higher, but primarily we'll stay in that, say, 3 to 15 rep range, and then maybe even spend more time in that 5 to 10 rep range, okay? That is what's going to allow us to build strength, but it's very general. But then when we want to test strength, say at the end of a program, you'll notice that the loads start getting heavier, we start decreasing the reps, and we start practicing this with those heavier loads and with the lower reps. And this is what's going to make us good at a 1 rep max. But like if you wanted to get, so that's what it is, it's a test of your current strength. So if you wanted to get really good at 1 rep maxes, you'd practice 1 rep maxes. If you wanted to get really good at sets of 20 reps, you would practice sets of 20. So testing strength is very specific to the outcome you want to create. Do you want to get good at sets of 5? Well, you need to be doing sets of 5. Do you want to get good at doing sets of 1? You need to do sets of 1. You get my point. Whereas this is very general, okay? So what you need to understand, though, is that if you spend most of your time, and most of your time should be spent on building, not testing strength, then you'll be working on doing more work over time, and your muscle mass increases, your strength increases. And then if you really want to test just for fun or for a competition or to show off and in front of your friends, or just because your ego needs some filling, then then you can practice specific reps to achieve the results that you want, okay? But I'll tell you guys a little story. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on in my training is I did way too much of this and not enough of this. You see, I was resting 5-10 minutes between sets. I did lots of 1 rep maxes, and the reality is I got very, very efficient with my current level of muscle mass. But it was like trying to squeeze out every drop of juice from a teeny little lime. Maybe more than teeny. I had a little bit more muscle mass than that, but not much. A medium-sized lime, when if I had just focused on building strength, you actually build a bigger lime, if you will. And so then if I wanted to test every once in a while, I would have gotten more juice for the squeeze. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, awesome. If not, sorry about it. Maybe you'll like the next video better. But this was a breakdown of building strength versus testing strength. Remember, strength is the ability of the nervous system to send a message out and to recruit the muscles to generate force against an object, all right? How do we build that strength? Progressive overload. That's the key. Progressive overload is key, with good form, of course, because it's hard to progressively overload when you are injured or hurt. But that's what we want, progressive overload. And we only test when we're, coming to the end of the program, just to see how much progress we've made, or if we just want to show off in front of our friends. Because sometimes you got to do that every now and then. Hope that helps. Talk to you guys next time.